Welcome to the Bringing the Human Back to Human Resources podcast, the podcast all about the delicate balance between people and business, and quite literally reconnecting the two. My name is Traci Rubin, and I've spent nearly my entire professional career in HR. Join me as I share stories, opinions, and words of advice with you each week. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Happy Tuesday. We are getting closer and closer to the year anniversary of this podcast. I know it's all I can think about, all I can talk about, other than my wedding, which is coming up in less than 3 weeks. So there's that. I hope you had a great weekend, depending on when you're listening to this. And I hope that you enjoyed last week's episode. Seems to be that a lot of you had some thoughts just in general around like my own brain dump, and you thought about your commitments a little bit differently and what you can do to get re-inspired and re-motivated at work, which is great. As a reminder, you can follow me on Instagram at HRTraci, that's HRTRACI, and I invite you to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. If you're new here, welcome. Don't forget to subscribe or hit the follow button depending on where you're listening to this. At any rate, you should also share this episode or any other episode that you found interesting with a friend if you think that they could enjoy it as well. So before I get into this week's episode, I just wanted to also remind you that I am a speaker and panelist at the virtual Hacking HR conference coming up in March. The link is in the show notes to register, but I will also continue to share it on Instagram. I would love if you joined. It is free. All of the content, everything is accessible virtually, and yeah, it's free. I mean, already 40,000 people have registered, so be part of the next 50,000 or the next 10,000, however many more decide to register. I hope to see you there. So I wanted to talk about certifications and I guess in general HR certifications because I've gotten a ton of questions about this through my DMs in recent weeks, but especially in the last few days, actually. I wonder if there's another shift happening in the workforce, but because you all tend to be part of those trends, the ebbs and flows of the workforce. I always get questions that kind of go along with what the rest of the world is kind of experiencing. At least that's what I've noticed. And the question that I get a lot, or I have been getting a lot, is whether or not certifications in HR are worth it, worth the money, and if they will help you as an individual or on the individual basis. So I want to first break down that, or I guess maybe first share that I don't hold today, at least, I don't hold any SHRM or PHR or HRCI certifications. If you're not familiar with those abbreviations, they are basically providers for different certifications. So SHRM is the Society of Human Resources. HRCI is the HR Certification Institute. They have a ton of different learning courses and certification courses. And then PHR is kind of part of that, part of HRCI. So, through HRCI, you can take different certification courses and different exams. So APHR is Associate Professional in Human Resources. PHR is Professional in Human Resources. SPHRI is Senior Professional in Human Resources International. So there are all of these different types of certification options. There are also different learning courses through HRCI, which is really cool. And SHRM has different resources as well, naturally, because they also have a whole portal of content and documents and things that can help you as an HR professional. So both platforms and organizations are definitely built out and options if you want to pursue a certification in HR in some area. So yeah, like I said, I don't have any certifications. And actually, I don't know that I will ever get a certification. It's just not something that today, at least, maybe in a few years I'll feel differently, but today I don't feel it's necessary for my career, my trajectory or anything like that. But I do have a master's degree, and maybe if I didn't have a master's degree, I'd feel differently. I don't know. We're going to break this down. So I want to first say that I'm going to speak on two different wavelengths. The first is for the person who doesn't have any HR experience or minimal HR experience, meaning 1 to 2 years at most. And then I'm going to speak on the wavelength of someone like me who has more than 8 years or more than 5 years of experience, hands-on HR specific experience. So on the first wavelength, for those of you who have little to no experience, certifications might be more critical to your ability to get into HR or critical to your ability to grow in HR. And I say this because there are certain certifications that give you experience, or maybe it's not experience, but give you knowledge into things that you would only otherwise get through experience. So certifications, in my opinion, are really good for those who don't have that hands-on HR experience or who need to expand their HR experience. So for those of you who don't have more than a year or two in HR or who are looking to transition into HR, I think that a certification could be really worth it for you. But there are pros and cons to becoming certified at any level. The first is actually, I don't know that certifications are stronger than experience. I think in HR, they're not stronger than experience. So this is why I say we'll talk about the other wavelength, if you already have experience. But thinking through those of you who don't have experience or have minimal experience, the certification is, I don't want you to go into a certification course thinking it's going to get you a job in HR or that it's going to give you all of the knowledge that you would otherwise receive from years of experience, because it won't. It definitely will give you exposure and a level of understanding that you don't currently possess, which is worthwhile. That is definitely worth something. But I definitely encourage you to, take a step back and remember that this is not going to replace years of experience. Years of experience to me always trumps what you can learn in a classroom or on a test or a certification course, because that hands-on experience is, to me, the best way to learn. Anyway, let's look at SHRM. So Society of Human Resources, they offer different certification courses, right? So the nuance here about SHRM is that they do require you to have a certain amount of experience to take their certifications or certain certifications. I went onto their website and I looked as if I have a bachelor's degree or I'm earning a bachelor's degree and less than 2 years of HR experience. And they're like, sorry, you're not eligible. But you might be eligible or might be interested in these different specialty credentials that you can get. So these specialty credentials actually, to me, make a whole lot of sense for someone who is trying to expand their knowledge and demonstrate a certain skill set to break into HR. I think it's a little, uncool that they don't have a certification course for someone who doesn't currently have HR experience. And we'll break down why our HRCI does this, I think, a little bit better. But anyway, in SHRM, they have these specialty courses. So one of them that I'm looking at now is the California Law HR Specialty Credential. And this is actually really cool. You can learn about the wage and hour laws, privacy and security laws, workers' compensation, leave of absence, employee relations. And I have to say, California is very litigious. So for someone who, maybe you're based in Nevada and you're looking to move to California, but you're not going to be able to get an HR job if you don't have any California employment experience, this could be a really great option. I don't know the cost of it. Maybe if I click here and I see the cost, because then I could tell you if it's going. Whoa! This was a real time reaction. Oh my gosh! You guys, $1,600 for a member, $1,900 for a non-member. Don't take it. Don't do that. Don't waste your money. I'll give you a training course. I will roll out training courses that teach you. And maybe you won't get the credential. Maybe one day I can have a certified training course. But that is wildly out of control. $2,000? I want to take this so I could see if it's worth it. If anyone from SHRM is listening to this, please, I would love to demo these courses and actually determine if the value is there. Whoa. Wow. Okay, well, that was a real-time reaction. Holy smokes. Okay, I'm not editing that out. Like, I'm keeping that because that's a real reaction. Wow, I would never. I mean, maybe companies would pay for you, but again, you're not going to necessarily get hired if you don't have the HR experience and it's something that is a compliance-driven role. So, like, you would be paying the $2,000. No, don't do that. Okie dokie. Well, so there's that, right? Like, now you have some stuff to reflect on. Like, $2,000 for a course that's a credential course. It's not even a certification course. There are courses that are actually less expensive than that. I would really, if someone's taken that, please let me know if it's proven its value, proven its worth. Anyway, I would like to kind of leave SHRM where it's at. So we could see some of the pitfalls, right? We could see some of the cons to the SHRM offerings. Like, you have to have a certain amount of experience and it's really freaking expensive, okay? HRCI, on the other hand, does have like entry level, let's call it entry level certifications. So when you go and you want to see, because you can go to all of these websites and I will link them obviously in the show notes as I always do. You can go and you can figure out like which certification is right for you. And so when I click to basically figure out like, you know, what I would best fit with, like which certification is best for me, I, again, did it based on no years of experience. And this APHR certification came up, Associate Professional in Human Resources. So it covers HR operations, employee relations, recruitment, compensation, benefits, HR development, retention, health, safety, and security. But most of it is covering HR ops, employee relations, and recruitment, which if you don't have any experience, those are the three categories that are probably the most important for your development. So you are eligible without any experience, which is amazing. The exam itself is 2 hours, a little bit more than 2 hours, and it costs $300 to take the exam and be certified, and $100 to apply. Now, $400 is much more reasonable than $2,000. The things I could do with $2,000, my goodness. $400, that's a little bit more reasonable, I think. So this is really cool. I mean, I think they have, you know, all of these different resources. And actually, if you are looking to be international, if you want a California specific certification, they have those certifications. Now, to me, as like from the outside looking in, I have always heard that HRCI certifications offer a bit more in some ways for the individual, and that just like in general, HRCI is a bit more renowned. So if you have a PHR, it's more renowned than like a SHRM. I think it's like CP is one of the certifications. Yes, SHRM, SCP, or CP. I mean, certainly there is a market out there for the SHRM certification. The SHRM CP, which is the Certified Professional exam, looks at like if you're in an HR or non-HR related college program and the amount of years of experience that you have. You already know my opinion on this if you've been here a while. I don't think that you need a degree to be an HR. I do think that you need experience to be a more well-rounded HR professional. So these requirements to me seem steep. So if you are someone who doesn't have a bachelor's degree or doesn't have 4 years of experience, you're not going to be able to get certified by a SHRM, or you're going to have to pay $2,000 to take a class. I mean, come on. So what I would say is that SHRM certifications apply to someone probably like in a non-HR / like someone who sits on an HR department. Maybe it's like a recruiter, talent acquisition, someone who has been an HR administrator or an intern for a few years. That I could see this certification making a lot of sense for you and giving you all of the benefits that this offers. However, notice the fees. Non-members, $400 or $475, depending on if you're taking advantage of the early bird special. The early bird special is $400. This is not a diner. I don't know what's going on here. All I can tell you is that there are certain people who will really benefit from SHRM. And if you already have a SHRM certification, that's great. Any certification is going to do something positive, right? It's going to boost confidence. It's going to make you feel more established. It might even earn you a greater salary, a higher salary. But I'm really thinking about this first wavelength of those of you who don't have experience. The SHRM certification is probably not going to be for you. The HRCI certification process will be more for you. Now, for those of you who have experience or are in your careers already, SHRM and HRCI have options for you. The SHRM SCP and CP certifications and the HRCI PHR or PHRI or SPHR, which is a Senior Professional in Human Resources, those certifications will be probably beneficial to you. They are going to, like when I look at the Professional in Human Resources certification through HRCI, it's focused on employee and labor relations, business management, talent planning, total rewards, and learning and development. So that makes sense to me. It's elevating your understanding and elevating your knowledge. And that course is just under $500. So again, that to me is totally like accessible if you want to be certified. For SHRM, again, it's around $400 to $500 as well. I think that the PHR is more, I think I said this already, a little bit more well-rounded, a bit more renowned in the HR world than the SHRM certifications if you are an HR professional already. What I will say about the cost of these exams is that if you are in HR already, you have an opportunity to ask your organization to pay for your professional development so that you don't have to worry about the cost of these certifications. So regardless of whether you have experience or not, certifications, learning opportunities, master's degrees, bachelor's degrees, any advanced learning that you can do is always going to be a good investment. Education in general is one of the best investments, in my opinion, that you can make for yourself. So if you're someone that, is ready to learn more, grow more, you want to just, make your resume shine and enhance it, a certification is going to do that. It definitely will do that. I just caution you if you think that it's going to land you a job or if you think it's going to give you the same amount of knowledge that hands-on experience will, because I don't think it will do that. But I definitely think it will make you more of an interesting candidate. So if you are applying for a job, whether they require a certification or not, you should be able to speak to the things that you've learned and how that makes you a viable candidate. So I've talked a lot about some of the cons to the certifications, but I want to talk about the pros. And I think the pros are actually in many ways more of the soft skills and innate elements of certification processes. So I already talked about how education, in my opinion, is one of the best investments that you can make in yourself. So if you value education in the same way, get certified in something, take a class, do something. Like no matter what you do, it's going to show that you are eager to learn and grow. And one of the fun facts that I have for you is that many colleges offer certificate programs online for HR. Cornell is actually one of them. They have very many HR certificates. They have HR management certificates that really break down like even DE&I, fostering a coaching culture, all of those things. HR essentials, DE&I certificates. I mean, this to me, if I were someone with no HR experience, I think I would take an Cornell course, because they're all online, ahead of a different certificate. Because I just think that it's more, I mean, it looks to me like it's a little bit more of a value add for an individual who doesn't have experience. Like when I look at the HR Essentials certificate program through Cornell, it's really well built out for someone who doesn't necessarily have that hands-on experience. What I will say is it looks like the cost of the programs at Cornell are fairly expensive. Like it looks like the range for certificates is between $1,200 and $10,000. I'm sure that the advanced certificates are the ones that are the most expensive, but I do think that this is just like an example of what you can find out there. Maybe there is a college near you where you can sit in on classes that like HR classes, unaccredited, so that you can, as like a non-matriculated student basically, where you can learn from the professor and kind of gain that experience and that knowledge. Even if it's not Cornell, I mean, Cornell is one of the more well-known colleges that offers these online certificates. But, you know, I think it's all about like return on investment and the value you're getting. To me, I would rather spend, or I could see more value in spending $5,000 for the Cornell certificates than $2,000 for a SHRM credential course that's specific to one state. I mean, it's very clear that the Cornell certificates are more valuable than the SHRM credential courses, just on the surface alone. Again, if you already have some of these credentials and certificates, that is totally fine. You didn't waste anything, because again, investing in your education is worth it no matter what. But I do think that there's this like underwritten rule that people need to have certifications, or they need to have that, you know, CP in their title on LinkedIn. You don't feel any pressure that you need to spend money or have like that certificate in your profile. What is a better spend of your time and money is to find a certificate or a certification program that really adds to your knowledge and experience and gives you exposure to things that you typically would only get through hands-on experience. So I never want someone to feel pressured by that. I get a lot of questions about this, and I say pretty much the same thing. Like, you shouldn't feel pressured that you need to have a certification or be certified in something to land a job. But I do think that you should know it makes you a stronger candidate if you have those things without the HR experience. But I think like on paper, if you're applying for an HR job and you have no HR experience, and then someone else is applying for an HR job and they have experience, it's probably not going to matter if you or both of you have the certification, because the experience is going to always trump the certification. At least that's what I think. That's how I would see it. But I know this is a conundrum, right? Because how do you get experience to have the experience? And that's where the internships come in. That's where these courses come in. That's where like anything that you can do that shows that you've been involved beyond the classroom or in the classroom in a different way. You know, maybe it's like joining SHRM on campus. That's a great example of potentially having more hands-on experience, or being a leader of an organization and like talking through how you were able to lead teams. Those things actually probably benefit you from an experience-based perspective in the same way or in a way that you probably are not realizing. So I just hope that no one feels pressured to get the certifications. There is a certification for everyone, but it's not a requirement for everyone, if that makes sense. I hope that helped in some way, either to alleviate your stress about feeling like the need to be certified in something, or that it like furthered your decision to be certified or not to be certified. Because I mean, I can only stress this enough. Any investment in your education is a good investment. Just make sure you're investing in the place that's going to give you the most return. That's all. That's really the message right there. Mic drop, right? Like that's the message. If you're going to spend the money, if you're going to spend the time, make sure it's where you're going to get the most return. Now, coming back to this idea on, creating a training course that is not $2,000, I want to do that. I want to know if you would sign up for a training course from me. It for sure will not be $2,000, but I do think there is an opportunity here for me to give you an opportunity to learn without having to go out of your way to spend all this money. I mean, I get it that part of the courses with SHRM and HRCI are that you get a certificate. And I might not be an accredited resource, at least not today. I don't really know that I don't know how that works, but if I can at least provide you some knowledge beyond my podcast, I would love to be able to do that. So let me know what you think. It feels like a good idea. It feels like it's an opportunity for me to give you more opportunities to learn and hopefully get a really strong ROI, return on your investment. Let me know. You can shoot me an email, podcast@hrtraci.com, or you can DM me on Instagram. It's easiest on there, honestly. It's where I will definitely answer more quickly. At any rate, I'm going to do a poll on this on Instagram when this episode launches, because we could be on to something here, people. We could be on to something. Wow, what a time. What a wild ride. This episode really, I feel like I got a little passionate there about the lack of value in some of these things, but I also feel equally passionate about the value of education and the value of investing in your education. So again, if you have the certifications, then you've invested in yourself and there's no loss there. If you're deciding on certifications to receive or whether it's the right thing or not, just do your research. Go to those links in the show notes. Figure out if you're eligible for a certification, if it makes sense for you to be certified, and if yes or no, at least you have more information. And maybe a college course or an online course through a college is a better fit for you. At any rate, keep going for it. If you want to make your big break in HR, you will make it. You will get there. People who want to be in HR get into HR. I promise you that. If there's anything that's true, it's that. So I hope you have a wonderful week ahead. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram at hrtraci and let me know what you think about this idea for some training material and a training course taught by yours truly. Let's see how it goes. Participate in the polls too on Instagram if you're listening on Tuesday, and I will see you next week.